Hey YouTube, Wig here, bringing you all an update to my Gishki Yugioh deck profile for post Photon Hypernova. The Gishkis are one of my favorite decks. I've played them so many times at locals with friends. I've tried so many combo variations. I've tried mixing them with heretics at one point, and we finally got new support in the Photon Hypernova set in the form of 2 new spells, a monster, and even a new ritual monster to help with the playstyle of the deck, giving us some great search power and overall powerhouses with the new level 10 Gishki Ritual Monster, and it all works very, very well with the older support as well, which just makes it a great update because I can incorporate so many of the older cards into the deck as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now for our new boss monster, I'm mixing around the numbers of Gishki Neremanas that I want to run in the deck. You can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell, which is what a lot of the Gishki monsters, if not all of the ritual monsters, share with their card effect. If this card is ritual summon, you can target one water monster in your graveyard, special summon it. It cannot be destroyed in battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck, and once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return 1 Gishki ritual monster you control in its hand, and if you do, negate the activation. And if you do, shuffle it into the deck. So this is a great way just to stop monster effects. We could have some pretty big board presence with the Gishki deck, but we were just lacking something to actually stop your opponent, and being able to special summon a ritual monster back from the graveyard that's already been properly ritual summoned can just help with the setup that you're meant to do, giving you that effect negation that you have with Neremanas. I may bump this up to 2. It's just great because it's so searchable. You can recycle it from the graveyard with Gishki Aquamir. If I were to increase the number of Neremanas, I would probably drop the number of Zeolgygus that I am running in the deck. I run 3 copies of this deck. This is my favorite Gishki ritual monster. I've made so many deck profiles with Zeolgygus being the main focus. Another level 10, you can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell card. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, draw 1 card and reveal it, and if it was a Gishki monster, shuffle 1 card in the field into the deck. So just that shuffle power, for the fact that it doesn't even target, makes it all the better. You can get rid of some of your opponent's resources while still keeping your hand in check with cards to use. You even get some rank 10 options with just how easy it is to special summon out the Gishki monsters, and with Neremanas, it makes it all the easier. Once again, if you wanted to run another copy of Neremanas, you can just put in a second copy by taking out 1 copy of the Zeolgygus. For some of the other rituals, I run 2 copies of Gishki Gustkraken. This card can just take cards out of your opponent's hand. You ritual summon it with any Gishki ritual spell. And then also with this card, when it's ritual summon, you can look up the 2 random cards in your opponent's hand and then shuffle 1 of them into the deck. Taking away hand resources before your opponent even has a turn is what really makes Gustkraken so scary. And being able to recycle it just like any of the other rituals and use its monster effect every time that you summon it. The last of the rituals is just 1 Mind August. Once again, it cannot be normal summon or set. It must first be ritual summon, and you can ritual summon this with any Gishki ritual spell. When it's ritual summon, target up to 5 cards in any graveyards and shuffle those targets into the deck. This can take away a lot of power from a lot of the powerhouse decks we have in the format now. If you didn't want to run Mind August, you could always keep the Zeolgygus to 3, and it could be the 1 card you take out for the second copy of Neremanas. Moving on now to the main deck Gishki effect monsters. I run 3 copies of Gishki Shadow. With this card, if you ritual summon a water ritual monster, it can be used as the entire tribute, and you can discard this card to add 1 Gishki ritual spell from your deck to your hand. It's search power, just being able to search out any of these spell cards, including the new Gishki Necromir, gives you just search options to use for whichever one you wanted to use for that play right then and there. And we're also running 3 copies of Gishki Vision. Just like Gishki Shadow, Gishki Vision can be used as the entire tribute for a water ritual summon. And also with this one, you can discard it to add a Gishki ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So that can be your search right then and there for Gishki Neremanas, being able just to add this card that easily to your hand. And if you already have that other ritual summon already set up, just adding that for more plays to use later on. I also run 3 copies of Gishki Abyss. When it's summoned, you can add 1 Gishki monster with 1,000 or less defense from your deck to your hand. It just says when it's summoned, so even if you special summon Gishki Abyss back from the graveyard, you'll get that additional search, and getting any action or option to search Vision or Shadow to your hand to then have a discard search makes it all the better as well. I'm running 3 copies of the new Gishki Grimness. If you ritual summon exactly 1 water ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used used as the entire tribute. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon one Gishki monster from your deck except for Gishki Grimness. You can only also declare attack with ritual monsters until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Gishki Grimness once per turn. So what incredible setup that you have with this deck, being able to go for any of the other Gishki monsters, just being able to summon one from the deck except for Gishki Grimness gives you access right to Gishki Abyss as well. It's another 3-of for sure. Being a fish target also means that we can special summon it off of Beautiful Princess and then just continue the search right then and there. For some of the lower numbers for the Gishki monsters, I also run 2 copies of Gishki Beast. What I like about Gishki Beast is it special summons one from the graveyard, so you can continue the exact playstyle if you were to target your Gishki Grimness with this card. If it's normal or special summon, you'll just get that additional search right then and there. And then also if you go for the level 4 Gishki Shadow, you're able to go for rank 4 Xyz plays in the deck if need be. And then for the last of the main deck monsters, I run 3 copies of Beautiful Princess. When it's normal or special summon, you can banish this card to special summon one level 4 lower fish monster from your deck, except for Beautiful Princess. You can only use this effect of Beautiful Princess once per turn. So initially, my only go-to target was Gishki Abyss, but now having the option to also go for Grimness just extends my plays, like I said before, with Grimness being a fish monster and just having to special summon onto the field, and then getting me one more additional special summon off of it to continue my searches. That is it for the main deck monsters. Moving on now to the spells. I run 3 copies of Gishki Aquamirror. This can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your field or your hand whose total levels equal the level of ritual monsters you ritual summon. You can return this card from the graveyard to the deck to select one Gishki ritual monster in your graveyard and return to the hand. So this is the recycle I meant from before with the Gishki ritual monsters being able to be added back to your hand thanks to Aquamirror, and all you have to do is shuffle this back into the deck and you can reuse that monster in your graveyard once again. I run 3 copies of it. I was mixing and matching with some of the other ones like Gishki Photomirror. If you want to run Photomirror additionally in the deck, just take out 1 copy of Aquamirror and put in that copy of Photomirror. I also run 2 of the new Gishki Necromirror. This card can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal exactly the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon, or tribute one face-up monster your opponent controls. If you ritual summon using this card, you lose life points equal to the original attack of the ritual summon monster. And if this card's in your graveyard, you can target one Gishki monster in your graveyard, place this card on the top of your deck, and if you do, place this card on the bottom of the deck. So with you have that recycle power, once again with Necromirror, being able to even just to set up that other Gishki card by targeting a monster and placing it on the top of the deck means you can also set up your 1000 life points play before you even go for the draw off of Gishki's Yugioh. You can set up that monster with your Gishki Necromirror and then draw and reveal it off of Gishki's Yugioh. One of my favorite new spells in the deck is also the new Focused Aquamirror. This card is incredible with the search power. You add one Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if you control a water ritual monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard to set one Aquamirror spell or trap directly from your deck or graveyard, except for Focused Aquamirror. You can only use this effect of Focused Aquamirror once per turn. So the fact that we got an amazing searcher that even made me contemplate using traps for the Aquamirrors in this deck makes it a definite 3-of for its search power. Just being able to add that Gishki monster, which a lot of my times will just be Gishki Grimness for that search, and then being able to set up either the Aquamirror that I need for the play the following turn, or one of the traps which I am running in the deck to help just with more protection of my monsters on the field. I also run 3 copies of Salvage just for recycle power. If you have both your Gishki Vision and Gishki Shadow in your hand, and you have Salvage as well, you can discard both of these cards for a search and then get the ritual spell and the monster, and then use Salvage just to add both of these cards back to your hand again and either use the search again or have them for the tribute costs for the summon. I also run 2 copies of Surface. With this card, you target one level 3 or lower fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monster in your graveyard, special summon it in face-up defense, just another target for Gishki Abyss or your Gishki Grimness to then continue your plays once again when you summon them out onto the field with no other restrictions when you use this card. And also 1 copy of Call by the Grave and 1 Monster Reborn. Same premise with Surface, just having another special summon for either Gishki Grimness or Gishki Abyss from my graveyard to the field. And then for the traps, the only trap that I run in the deck is Aquamirror Illusion, because once again, you can set it with your focused Aquamirror if you control that ritual monster at the end of your turn. You special summon one Gishki ritual monster from your hand. It cannot attack and is returned to the hand during the end phase. So with this, you can just get a boss monster out onto the field to protect yourself. And even having that, it can be used as a tribute cost, because once again, with Eva Gishki and Naramanus, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can return one Gishki ritual monster you control to the hand. So having this on the field and Aquamirror Illusion set, if you just special summon out that other Gishki card, you can at least just return that to the hand, and that can be your answer for the monster to return off of the ritual if you don't have it in the graveyard to use, or even just giving you that one additional ritual monster on the field to use with it. That is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 copies of Miss Starboy. Now, with this Link 2 option, it definitely does come in handy with all of the play extensions that we can do. Being able just to summon out Gishki Grimness and then grab Gishki Abyss off of that. Giving the use for these two, since they can be used, Gishki Grimness can at least be used for the entire tribute. But even if you don't have the ritual play set up, you can use both for the Link summon, or even if you have one of your cards to special summon them back onto the field, like Monster Reborn or Surface, and then use that ritual play there while still having a Link monster that can power up all your water attribute monsters on the field. I also run 1 copy of Coral Anemone for more special summon power with our water monsters. Same with Area, giving resources of my opponents back to me for being able to reuse as well. I also run 1 Sprite Elf. I'm a big fan of this card in the deck. It also made me want to contemplate, making a version of Gishki with all the level 2s we have and mixing in sprites. That may be a video I work on later down the road. But even once more, with the play to go into, you can have your Gishki Abyss and your Gishki Grimness be used for the Link 2 play, going into Sprite Elf, and then using Elf to summon your Grimness or Abyss back onto the field, which you can use Abyss since it's not a once per turn play, and then be able to summon that out, and then use the play the following turn to summon out Gishki Grimness, just continuing the searches using this card. And then the only restriction you have with your Gishki Grimness is you can only declare an attack with ritual monsters the turn you activate its special summon play. But still very, very useful with that Link summon. And I also run 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn and 1 copy of Borreload Dragon. The big attacks you can get off with this deck is why I love using Borreload, as just also another way to take a resource from my opponent. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, 1 number 4 Stealth Kraken, 1 Stealth Kraken Spawn, 1 Bahamut Shark, and 1 Totally Awesome. For some of the rank 4 plays, then Totally Awesome off of the Bahamut Shark. And then for the bigger XYZ plays, 1 Utopia Beyond for the Gus Kraken and Mind August, 1 Gongaradai, and 1 Gustav Max for the rank 10 plays, when you can overlay with your Naramanus and your Zealgygus to go for either some destruction or burn plays against your opponent. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, Gishki Grimness is a big help, like I said before. Just when it's normal or special summon, to special summon a Gishki monster for my deck, except for Gishki Grimness. So you can normal summon out your Gishki Grimness, and then go for the special summon of your Gishki Abyss, which you're limited to just the ritual attacks for the turn, remember that. Gishki Abyss will then activate, allowing you to search out what you need for the play. Depending on what you have in your hand as well, you can either add, a ritual monster or a ritual spell. I can normally go for just thinning out the deck as well, so I can add Gishki Shadow off of Gishki Abyss, and then with that I can go for the Link 2 play and go for the Sprite Elf. Elf will activate, allowing me to then special summon back onto the field another Gishki Abyss. It doesn't activate on summon, you just have to activate it with its own monster effect. Gishki Abyss will activate once again, and with that you set up 2 searches just like that for your Gishki Vision and your Gishki Shadow. You can then discard both of these cards to gain the additional searches for the Gishki cards you need. You can go for the Naramanus and then the Necromirror if your opponent has the monster resource for you to use for the tribute, or if you have the other monster tribute in your hand ready to go, you can add the Aquamirror to your hand. If you have other cards like Salvage to add back the Gishki Shadow and the Gishki Vision, then you have more of the plays to use for additional searches and spell setup as well, because then you can use both of them again to discard, getting you an additional card to your hand. So you can add 1 more Aquamirror and then another rank 10 ritual option in the form of Zealgygus. You can then use your Gishki Aquamirror, either using one of the rituals like Naramanus to summon out Zealgygus. With that, you have the Naramanus in your graveyard for you then to reuse as well. So you can reshuffle your Gishki Aquamirror back into the deck, adding Naramanus to your hand, getting the additional draw off of Zealgygus. If you went first, just be wary, because if you do reveal a Gishki monster, you'll shuffle one of your own cards back. You can always just summon back, shuffle back the Abyss that's on the field. But then after that draw, you can activate Aquamirror once more using Zealgygus for the the ritual to summon out Neremanis, and since the Zeogigas was properly summoned, you can then use your Neremanis to special summon it back into the field, and this is a freshly summoned Zeogigas, which you can then use the 1000 again to draw an additional card. If once again you reveal 2 Gishki monsters in a row and you had to shuffle back the first Abyss, you can just shuffle back the Sprite Elf again, but it's, you know, most of the time it's a risk you'll take, but still worthwhile, because then you have the monster effect negation, and if your Sprite Elf does stay on the field, you have a summon during your opponent's turn to summon out Gishki Grimness and gain another additional search. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Gishki is one of my favorite decks. I was so happy to be updating it with the new support we got from Photon Hypernova, and I hope you all enjoyed it as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.